Father, we just come to you tonight, just thank you for this night, and just asking that you'll give us the wisdom to make wise decisions for the city tonight, and be with each and every person here. And we just praise you and thank you. And I ask this all in Jesus' precious name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Davis.
Present.
Hutchins.
Present.
Candia.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Martina.
Present.
Mayor Caden.
Present. Item 5, declaration of conflicts of interest. See, now we'll go to item 6, ceremonial matters. I don't believe we have any. Item 7, items from the public non-agenda items. Any member of the public wish to address council, now is the time to do it. Please step to the podium. Non-agenda items, if you wish to address the council, now would be time to do it. Step to the council, or to the podium, state your name and address for a non-agenda item.
Cindy Kimber, I live at 1336 and a half Q Street, and I want to know what elements about the water thing has been gone on, because I live right smack next door to the corporation yard where water is running from a pipe that's been dripping since I moved in there months ago, and at least once a week, the whole yard gets flooded out and runs out into the street, things like that.
Okay,
What's going to go up, because that makes me upset, because we have to pay more money for it,
what's
and
the
that's
address?
running. 1336 and a half Q Street.
Okay, we'll make sure we have staff take a look at it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else wish to address the council? Okay, seeing none, we'll go to item 8, consent calendar. A is waive all readings of ordinances and resolutions set by title. B is approval of the warrants. C is approval of the minutes of the January 8, 2013 regular meeting. D is adopt resolution number 2013, next to number resolution approving the statement of investment policy for the city of Newman. And E is adopt resolution number 2013, next to number, a resolution authorizing the city manager and director of public works to execute any agreements, all master agreements, program supplemental agreements, fund exchange agreements, fund transfer agreements, and any amendments thereto with the California Department of Transportation for the design and construction for Highway 33, Inyo Avenue intersection, and traffic signal improvements. Whew. Okay, before we go any further, I'd like to pull item D for separate consideration, only because I just found a typographical error, I think.
Yeah, I was going to pull the same one. So.
It has that Councilman Hutchins already has made the motion for the resolution, and we haven't passed it yet. You see that, Michael?
Yeah, typically this is a policy that we do every year, so we just generally take the last year's resolution and move it forward. It was something we just didn't catch.
Okay, but if somebody else made the motion to approve the resolution, that would be incorrect, correct? The resolution...
Oh, we might want to take separate action on that with
Yeah.
the deletion.
Yeah, just because it already states Councilman Hutchins has made the motion.
And I
So,
haven't.
Yeah. So with that, we'll pull item D and act on it separately. So with items A, B, C, and E, motion, please.
I'll make a motion, we approve the consent calendar with the exception of item D.
Second that motion.
And a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, with item D, motion to approve with the changes for on it.
Prior to that, Mr. Mayor, I do have a couple of questions on it.
Okay.
Just looking at, and I didn't see it in here, maybe I just missed it, the amount we have in Leif as compared to Chandler, since Leif is at 0.37% and Chandler's at quite a bit higher than that, even though it's only 2.25%. Are we happy with that equity right now?
As your staff, we've evaluated that since we joined Chandler over a year ago. We're comfortable with the amount that we currently have with Chandler because we represent a significant amount of that fund, and we don't want to increase our exposure by being overly burdened in terms of having, excess amount of a single fund. So, there may be, I think, about $40 million in there, and we have 5. So we don't want to get too excessive and overweight our portion of that fund, so.
How much do we have in LAIF right now? 7? Is there anything out there better than .37? Or have we looked at anything better than .37?
We have, and, we have, as you know, some CDs, as we talked about by UBS. We have Chandler. I think that one thing the council needs to think about is what happened to some of the communities earlier in the decade. They were chasing yield and got caught. And so, safety with the public funds is of utmost importance right now. So we think we have a good spread with respect to how much money is getting above LAIF and how much is at LAIF. So at this point, your staff is comfortable with the current allotment that we have into LAIF and to other funding sources.
Any questions or comments? Okay, motion for item D. Someone will make a motion on item D on consent calendar.
I make a motion that item D is approved.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And I'd need to go back to the opening of the meeting. We had adjourned to a closed session, and out of that session, we just gave direction to our legal counsel. So just report out on our closed session from earlier. Okay, now we'll move to item 9. It's public hearing, adopt resolution 2013, next in number, resolution declaring the results of a notice protest proceeding and approving certain actions for rates, fees, charges for water services. Michael, or Gardner, I'm sorry.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, and members from the public. Our water is a finite resource, and it's a valuable commodity. It's our responsibility as staff and as a community to plan for our future. We heard and understand the water quality issues facing the city of Newman. To that end, we are looking to identify the most economical way to improve our water quality. We re-drilled a test hole. We currently sampled that, and we have some sample results for that. They are preliminary. We're resampling it to verify the results. One measure of water quality that we look at is salinity, which affects your taste. And that was a comment that was made at the last public hearing. Our current wells average about 950 parts per million when it comes to salinity. The new test hole we drilled came in at 760 parts per million, or an improvement of approximately 20% on water quality. Another measure that you look at when you're looking at water quality is hardness. Hardness is what you see in your appliances, on your shower doors, or in your vehicles when you wash them. You see the stains come onto that. Our existing city wells are averaging about 400 milligrams per liter. The new test hole came in at 225 milligrams per liter, or an approximate improvement of about 44% on water quality. In addition to the new test hole, we have also been doing some research on the possibility of looking at our existing wells and improving the water quality within them. However, we need a new well online before we can take an existing well offline to improve that water quality. The city constantly monitors this water system and its wells. We conduct sampling weekly on each well. On an average year, we have about 530 samples that we take in our water system. For 2013, state's mandating that we have to take 709 samples at an increase in cost of approximately $15,000. Our water supply system. Currently, our water supply system consists of approximately 28 miles of water pipelines that deliver water on demand to our residents. We have approximately 250 fire hydrants for fire suppression and one 100,000-gallon water storage tank. All of this is supplied by 4 wells by groundwater. Our aging infrastructure. So I'd like to spend a few minutes talking about the status of our infrastructure. The city's water system has been in operation for quite some time. Our records indicate that our only water storage tank is approximately 100 years old. This tank is definitely reaching the end of its useful life, and it's time we look at an opportunity to replace this. In addition, we have water pipes that are over 100 years old within the system. In 2012, we had 63 repairs that we did, which is an average almost 1 repair per week that we're doing on our water system. In one system, we had 6 repairs in 4 feet. it just continues to break down. We have to continually get in there and repair that. Well 8, one of our best producing wells, is 9 years old. That's our newest well. Well 1R, that one was re-drilled. That's why it's called 1R. That's 19 years old. Well 6 is 23 years old. And our oldest well is well 5. It's 44 years old, and this well is beginning to show signs of deterioration. We are not sure what's going on. We think the casing may be collapsing. This well may need to be re-drilled or sleeved in the near future, and that's going to be very costly. This slide is a few examples of what I was referring to. The tank with the repair system on the water service. That one I believe was from Stevens Avenue. And then that's one of our employees repairing a water main. That was on Inyo Avenue just recently. Our water system deficiencies. With the proposed rate increase, it is our plan to begin replacing the water mains. We are looking at Stevens Avenue, R Street, Fig Lane, Amy Drive, and Sydney Avenue. And our plan is over the next 5 years that we spend approximately $900,000 replacing those mains. These are where we're spending at least once a week. We're in there repairing those water mains. Water storage. Currently we have an existing 100,000 gallon water storage tank, which I mentioned is over 100 years old and is in need of replacement. Our master plan recommends that we have at least 1 million gallons of water storage in case of emergency purposes. Fire flow protection. Currently we have 4 wells that supply water to the city. Our master plan recommends that the city enhance our fire flow protection and increase our reliability capacity. So with the deficiencies identified, we put together a plan to correct these. In this rate study and rate increase, we are planning to replace our aging pipelines that we're constantly repairing. Second, we are planning to construct a new well, tank, and booster pump station to help improve our water supply and provide a better water quality to our residents. Third, once we have the new tank, well, and booster pump station operational, our plan is to look at future water quality investigations, look at possibly going back to the old wells and see if we can find a way that we can improve the water quality coming from those wells as well. Lastly, we're looking to a future to secure a long-term water supply for the city. Now I'll move into the rates. A future bill with our new rates for a 5/8" residential meter. The existing water rate structure includes a service charge of $10.90, no meter replacement fee, and 55 cents per unit for 100 cubic feet of water. I should also note that the service charge includes a base allowance of 400 cubic feet of water. The proposed rate structure includes a service charge of $13.54, a $1.07 meter replacement fee, and 3 tiers increasing in cost based on consumption. Therefore, a typical customer for a 5/8" residential meter currently pays on average about $19.33 per month. Could expect to see an increase to $26.27 per month, or just under $7 a month increase. For a 1-inch commercial meter, the average currently pays about $23.19 per month. That is proposed to go to $29.83 per month on an average, or about $6.64 per month increase. These are the tiers that I mentioned earlier with the new proposed rates. This chart shows a tier for a typical single-family home. Tier 1 is based on typical indoor usage for December, January, and February. That is 0 to 10 units, and that is 55 cents. Tier 2 is based on the average outside irrigation use for June, July, and August. In addition to that, they added 50% for indoor use and irrigation use, so that would be from 10 units to 44 units or 4,400 cubic feet. Tier 3 is anything above the top of Tier 2 or anything above 4,400 cubic feet. These tiers are designed to encourage water conservation as required by the state of California, and we as a community should encourage as well. This slide shows the proposed water rates for the next 5 years, with the first rate increase, provided the rates are adopted, scheduled for February 1st of 2013, with the next 4 scheduled for the first of the calendar year thereafter until 2017. On this slide shows a comparison of our existing rates and our proposed rates with 11 other local agencies. With our proposed rate increase, we would still be the third lowest in our region. Again, this is another comparison for the commercial water bill. Same thing with that one. With 11 other local agencies, would still be the third lowest within our region. In addition to that, I just recently learned that the city of Turlock, who was the lowest in our region, is currently undergoing a water rate study as well because they're not covering the cost to operate and maintain their water system. Water provides for health and safety, washing, cooking, cleaning, landscaping, and irrigation, and is life-sustaining. We cannot afford to keep kicking the can down the road. This only costs us more in the future. Therefore, it is our responsibility as staff to effectively and efficiently operate and maintain and manage the water system. In order to do that, we need to ensure there's enough funding to cover these costs. On July 24, 2012, the City Council adopted the 2012 water rate study. On August 28, 2012, City Council authorized the initiation of the Proposition 218 proceedings and proposed increase for the water rates. However, there was an error in the ballot, and City Council elected at the time to start the Proposition 218 process over. Therefore, the revised notice were mailed to the affected property owners on December 5, 2012. These revised notice included clarifying language regarding the calculation of the rates and a phone number with the contact for those requiring translation. In addition, the effective dates for the increases were changed from February 1, 2013, and annually thereafter, starting on January 1st through January 1st of 2017. The written notice was distributed to both the ratepayer and record of the property owner, and a public hearing is required to be conducted not less than 45 days after the mailing of the notice. If written protests against the proposed fee or charge are presented by a majority of the identified parcels, the agency shall not impose a fee or charge. To date, we have received 119 protest votes. Therefore, staff recommends City Council conduct the public hearing, accept oral and written protests, and close the required 45-day public comment period. Upon closing the public hearing, the City will determine if a majority protest exists and report that back to Council. Terry Barquez will be accepting written protests tonight up to the conclusion of the public hearing, and she's sitting back here in the back. At this time, if there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Any questions or comments of Garner? Thanks, Garner. I think you pretty much explained it very thoroughly, Garner. I appreciate that. So we're going to, just a minute. We're going to open the public hearing and allow everybody to come up and address the council. Make sure you state your name and address clearly for the record, because we're recording everything, so we can able to report everything back. I'm going to allow you to get up and address the council. Please do so in an orderly fashion. Make your statements one time. I'll give you the time you need, but I don't want you sitting down, getting back up, sitting down, getting back up like we did last time. So get up, state your protests or your comments, and we'll let staff take notes. Staff will then address those comments at the end of the comment period and try to answer any questions you might have. Okay, please step to the podium.
Good evening, Mayor, City Councilman. The deal I have is...
Please state your name and address. I'm sorry.
L.B. Ball Trip, Jr. I live at 529 Flour Mill Drive. Well, now, my thing is I'm hearing you talk about all these old wells, one way older than me, 100 years old, and then you saying something about seeing about repairing it. If it's that old, you wasting money trying to repair it. Seems like you ought to be replacing it. That's, I mean, it seems to me that's a waste of money to try to repair a 100-year-old well or a tank, you know, and the water we're getting up, even on my street over here, I can't drink it. I itch when I bathe in it. Anyway, that's all I had to say.
Thank you. Next.
Karen Keys. I live at 1536 Dutch Corner Drive. And I actually typed up what I wanted to say so that I wouldn't come back and forth, or go back and forth, or you know, just go off on a tangent or whatever. But one thing that I did want to say was what you were saying about all the the improvements, I'm sitting there thinking I'll probably be dead before any of them happen. And then I'm thinking, with all of the improvements that you're talking about making, kind of makes you, I don't know, do you want to rethink I mean, it's a little late to go back and rethink the plaza thing, the $2 million for that, but, I mean, but, you know, if it was me, I'd want to go back and rethink it if I had to do it over again. But anyway, like I said, I typed up what I wanted to say. So, and it really has a lot to do with Prop 218. So, first of all, I'll bet everyone in this room, if you're a homeowner, voted for Proposition 218, including city council members. The only difference between us, the council, city council, and the mayor, and us sitting here, is what side of the fence we're on. We have the money, you need it, you want it. I'm curious how many on the city council have actually read Prop 218? I feel if you're required to follow Prop 218 guidelines before imposing any increases, you should be aware and understand what those guidelines are. Now, I went online and I downloaded Prop 218. It's been a month, I think, right, since the last meeting. Well, we skipped December because of the holiday. But since November, I read Prop 218, and I'll admit that I had to go back and there's a link you can click on for understanding Prop 218. So don't be intimidated. Go online and read Prop 218, and then, you know, the understanding of Prop 218. He'll explain it to you. But with regards to the water rate increase and the fees, the service charges, right here on Proposition 218, the notification, when you send a notification out, according to Prop 218 guidelines, each notice shall contain a ballot whereby the owner may indicate his or her name, reasonable ID of property, which would be parcel or number, address, and may indicate his or her support or opposition to the proposed increase. At the public hearing, all protests against the proposed increase shall be considered, I think like we did in November, followed by the tabulating of ballots. And what prompted me to say this was because I read in the paper last week that there were, I don't know if it was Mr. Reynolds or who made the statement in the paper about there wasn't a flurry of protests, and that you, to date, or as of last week, you had 89 protests. But a majority exists, according to Prop 218 guidelines, a majority exists if, upon conclusion of the hearing, there's key words used in here, ballots submitted in opposition to the increase exceed the ballots submitted in support of the increase. So the key words, the operative words here are ballots submitted. An increase shall not be imposed if there is a majority protest. A true ballot format should include choices or options, which is the whole purpose of a vote. How can you vote on a one-sided ballot? Now, if we do it the way, and I don't understand, well, if you read Prop 218 and we're following the guidelines, we wouldn't have got the form that we got, because that doesn't include, it doesn't, there's no option on there, there's no choice or selection, there's no way to indicate on there what your choice is, because it's a one-sided ballot or form. It says in protest. If you're protesting, you mail this in or you fill it out and bring it or whatever. So I don't think that Prop 218 guidelines are being followed. But I don't know if I can speak for everybody here in your audience, but we since we voted for Prop 218 to protect us so that we wouldn't get all these increases and everything, wouldn't get out of hand, that proposition is to protect us, allow us to vote on increases. But if we do it the way with the form that you mailed out or have here for us to fill out or mailed in or whatever, if we use that form, if that's what you want to go by, then that's fine. But we want to go by Prop 218, which says we have to have the choice. There has to be something we can select. We can indicate yes, yay or nay, or opposed, against. Okay, so we go by Prop 218, and if you want to vote on that, then I guess we can just stop, because you got 89, I don't know how many more you've gotten since last week, but 89 protests. How many of those are for, in support of? How many of those, you got 89 nays, how many yays did you get? That's what I want to know. If you're following the guidelines of Prop 218, then, that's fine. It seems to me like you stack the deck against yourself by coming up with a form that, okay, we're just going to send it out and we're going to put, I protest this, and sign it. But no voting is done like that. The presidential election, anything that you vote for, I don't vote for something if I don't see on here, okay, what are my options? What are my choices? I should be able to indicate, you check it or cross out, X the box or whatever, pick my selection, and you didn't do that. But that's what Prop 218 spells out. That's the guideline for that. And so what I'm saying is, I don't know what anybody brought with them tonight or what anybody's mailed since those 89, but 89, hey, 89 in protest, 0 for support. It's a done deal. I think the only option you would have is go back to table it and go back to the drawing board again and do it over. And you made the statement in the paper after the last meeting, well, because we had to do this all over again, it was $2,500. Well, either do it according to Prop 218's guidelines or you're in violation of Prop 218. And then I had just one short thing that I wanted to say to everybody else here, was that everybody should read Prop 218. How the ballots are tabulated is important. For example, and this is to do with, we use the Prop 218 for the lighting and landscaping. For example, in tabulating ballots for lighting and landscaping, it's different because the ballots would be weighted according to the proportional financial obligation of the affected property. For example, if homeowner Jones paid twice as much as homeowner Smith on your assessments, your property taxes, homeowner Smith's vote, homeowner Jones' vote would count twice as much as homeowner Smith's vote. Not that Smith's vote wouldn't count, it's just that that's why they call it a weighted ballot, is because Jones's ballot carries more weight, twice the vote, twice as much on the vote. This is where the increase may be imposed only if 50% or more of the weighted ballots support the increase. And I think that was the only statement that was in the paper that was accurate, was 50%. Over 50%, then you've got a majority. I'm thinking that the homeowners in Newman might want to revisit the lighting and landscaping increase that was passed. And, because that wasn't done according to Prop 218 either. Okay? And one of the reasons might have been that, I'm just speculating, but one of the reasons might have been because if you're going to do it that way for lighting and landscaping, if you got to base it on, weighted ballots and what everybody pays something different, it's going to take a little bit more work to tabulate and figure out how much the weighted votes are worth and for and against. it's going to take a little time. It's going to be time consuming. It's not a matter of saying yay, nay, and like that. So anyway, that's what I'm saying, is that, if you're going to do it the right way, you use the Prop 218 guidelines. And it seems to me like, I don't know, like I said, I don't know how many people read Prop 218, and I suggest everybody do it, because this isn't the last time this is going to come up. And there is a link you can click onto to help you understand what Prop 218 covers. The tabulating for different assessments, fees, charges, and how they affect your property. All the tabulating is different. It's not the same. It's not a simple matter of yes or no. Okay, so that's what I've got to say.
Thank you, Mrs. Keys.
Good morning. See, I'm still on the other clock time. Good evening, City Council, Mayor. Let me say, I have not seen any of you since last year. Happy New Year's, and glad to see that you all are doing well. I come back. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, if we could just get you to state your name.
Yeah, Leroy, state your name and address, please.
Leroy McDonald. The address is 224 Northampton Way here in Newman. I come back for the second time in reference to the water article here in reference to protest. But I wanted to say in terms of reading the study and hearing what management is talking about in terms of the wells being old. And I agree with you in reference to an old well, trying to fix it, is like putting a Band-Aid on a open wound. So in saying that, I think that two things need to be done here, is that if we're going to move forward with this, the wells, that we need to think in terms of maybe building new wells, or just like you said, drilling for new wells. But I disagree in reference to the rate hike at this time. As we all know, across this country, economics is wearing people out. Jobs, in reference to people, especially retired people in this area and people that are commuting up out of this area, times are rough on them. And I think that it is not only is it not appropriate, but I don't think it's the right time for the city to be looking at rate hikes. But I think at some point in time it is appropriate, because we have a serious problem with our water here in this city. So in saying that, I think that what the young lady was saying in reference to the proposition that you may consider, just like she was mentioning, in terms of going back and taking a look at how it was presented to homeowners and the public, is that she may have, some substance to that. And I believe the council may, if he's read it, he probably will say the same thing. There is substance there. And I said all that to say this, is that I think that the city council and you, Mayor, may consider, and this will be basically not just protection of city council, but protection of the residents of the city of Newman, is maybe think of putting together a community advisory committee that will basically oversee some of the things that city manager brings in to this hearings. And in terms of some of the things that people protest, we don't get a whole lot of protest people coming in. That may be an advisory committee that is made up of residents, homeowners of this city, that will basically be a part of your agenda every time you meet. If it's 2 or 3 times a month, that they sit down and sort of decide and make decisions like you're making. Because these are the taxpayers. These are the ones that's paying each and every one of your salaries. And I'm talking about administration. So And I was told this first time I moved down here, when I moved down here, because I brought some of the concept that I dealt with in the city and county of San Francisco, is that if I didn't like what was happening down there, move back to the Bay Area. But that's water under the bridge, and there's some things that I know that have been working for big cities and urban cities that even small cities like this can take into consideration that will stem off some of these, I guess, not so much the protest, but, people feeling like they're not getting a fair shake. So in saying that, if this is something that you guys might want to consider, I wouldn't mind being involved with it in terms of a community advisory board that will be a part of any type of master plan or any type of changes that the city might have in reference to that's going to impact or affect, the community. Thank you.
Thanks, Leroy. Anybody else?
Good evening. I'm Alex Drabala, live at 749 Black Mountain Lane. I came and spoke last time as well. I spoke about the deception of not including all information in the mail out. I appreciate the fact that that was addressed in the new mail out. It was more clear. I believe it was easier for people to understand. I still feel that the fees are going to be excessive without the monthly allotment that we used to have of 4 units. I believe we're just calling it units now. Originally, when I moved here, we were allotted 10 units. 6 units got taken away in 2008, and now you're going to try and take away another 4 units. So basically, we just pay for water and pay on top of paying for water. I think you're going to encourage a lot of dead lawns. People aren't going to water their front yards, let alone their backyards, due to the fact that they can't afford it. It's going to not look very good for the city, for anyone coming through the city to visit. I still think it needs to be addressed on the practicality of take-home vehicles, especially ones that consume gas at a high rate, namely Chevy Tahoes, especially when there's fuel-efficient Honda Civics parked out in front of the police station all night long, not being used. If someone has to have a take-home vehicle for whatever reason, contractual or whatever it be, they could surely drive a 40-mile-per-gallon vehicle as opposed to a 14-mile-per-gallon vehicle. I think that would be a big cost savings. In fact, Garner mentioned new water samples need to be taken a higher amount, which could equate to $15,000 a year. Well, I believe $15,000 a year could probably pay for itself if we take away that gas money. I'm curious about the purpose, why we feel the need for 1 million gallons of storage versus 100,000 gallons of storage at this time. What kind of emergencies do we foresee in a non-earthquake zone out here in the valley? I'm sure you never know what's going to happen naturally, but it's not prone to happen in this area. I might have mistaken when you mentioned also researching alternative water sources in the future. That was a little confusing. Why are we going to proceed with something and then still plan to research different sources later on down the road? Why don't we plan to get everything out there now, especially if all the water rates go through and we can afford it, just do everything now instead of researching later, because the same thing's going to happen at that time. Getting back to the monthly allotment, excessive fees, when I first moved here back in '04, I have my first water bill here. My consumption was 14 units. I moved into a new house. I had no backyard. I commuted to the Bay Area. I was gone from 5 in the morning till 7 at night. And it was just myself and my wife, and I still consumed 14 units. How about people that live here all the time, lots of kids? There's no way that they can. It was hard enough when the 6 units got taken away. You're really going to hurt people, and it's not going to encourage them to stay in Newman. There's nothing stopping people from walking away from their homes. There's still no penalty from walking away and defaulting on their loans, unfortunately. Wish people could be more on their word for that, but they're going to leave. If they can't afford the water, if they can't afford to bathe their kids, if they can't afford to drink water that you mentioned is a part of surviving in life, they're going to leave. I guarantee it. They're not going to stay around. I believe that's it. I appreciate the time, and thank you.
Hey, Alex. Anybody else? Okay, just a moment. We'll let people go up to the podium.
My name is Charlene London. Most people know me as Charlie. I live at 1023 Grackle Court. I also have been here since '94. And the water rates have gone up. My water is still bad. I have to change my water faucets yearly because they rot out. And I have a water system, I have a water softener, and it still doesn't help. And I want to know what all the cost of this, how it's going to make it any better. And like the rest have said, it's getting so costly that it's making it very difficult for us that aren't making that much money, or that maybe we are not working very much. And it's making it very difficult. And when I see rate increases, I wonder, how is that going to help? What is that going to do? It's already been increasing and increasing, and the water has not gotten any better. And so that was my question, basically. And I just wanted to know that, besides the water softener and replacement of water faucets, that's an added cost. So everything is costing more, and we're not getting anything more. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I just have some questions.
Sir, could you step up to the podium? I just have to remind you, you can make comments. However, the council is not going to address any particular questions that you might have at this time.
My name is Dennis Clark, and I live at 718 Pelican Court in Newman. I've lived here for 2 years, and I bought a year and a half ago. And I just have some questions because I'm a novice. Number one, this gentleman seemed very knowledgeable. Have you gone out and got an estimate for what this million-gallon tank is going to cost?
Sir, we're not going to answer any direct questions of the public. If you have some comments to make, we'll have staff try to address each one of them.
I said initially over there I just had some questions.
Okay.
I didn't ask to come up here.
Okay. So if you want to submit your questions to our staff, we'll have staff address them. But this is a public hearing, so we're not going to answer questions. Is there any other public comment to be made? Okay. I'll just kind of refer, I can assure you the staff has followed procedures, and if you read Prop 218, if you want to look at Section 6, Parent 2, it'll outline the process that's been followed. Okay? Okay. If there's no other comments, council comments, questions? I'll close the public hearing, bring it back to council for direction. Actually, we need to take about 10 minutes, and we'll have staff do the count and report back to council. So we're going to take about 5 to 10 minutes.
That's one thing. And the only other thing, the gentleman already answered one question. The other question I had is, I was from Fremont for 40-some years, and I just didn't use the number of units there that I do here. I was in a family of 4 there. I'm alone here. And I was just wondering what the average use. I know there's always a variable, but is mine way overboard? I'm sure that someone here can say just about what the average amount of units is, and I just seem to consume an awful lot of water for one guy, unit-wise.
Okay, Mr. Clark, and we'll have staff address your question.
I appreciate
Okay?
that.
Thank you so much. Okay. I think we've accomplished everything. We're going to re-close public hearing. Okay. Staff's had time to come up with some numbers. You want to report that?
Bring out the ballot count, correct?
Yes, the ballot count, yes.
At the conclusion of the public hearing, there were 119 written protests received. The majority protest does not exist. Therefore, staff recommends City Council adopt a resolution declaring the results of the notice protest proceedings and approve certain rates, fees, and charges for water services.
Okay. All right, you've had, Council, you've heard public comment, you've had staff report. Public hearing has been closed. Bring back council for direction.
I so move that we adopt resolution number 2013, next number, a resolution declaring the result of the notice protest proceedings and approving certain actions for rates, fees, and charges for water services.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Michael, should we do a roll call?
It was 5-0.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to clarify. Okay, there's been a motion and a second, and all in favor is 5-0 is a vote, so we'll go ahead with the proposed water increase. I'd like to thank everybody for coming out. I know it's disappointing to you. Again, this council has to, make decisions what we feel is best interest of the city, and it's cost of doing business, and it's a cost that we all absorb with you. So I'd like to say I feel your pain, and I do, but again, we also are members of this community, and we also have to pay the increases. And if you notice the things going on with the other cities around us, I can use Atwater as an example. They didn't do their increases over the years, and they started tapping in their general fund, and now they're on the brink of bankruptcy. Other cities have done the same thing, where they didn't stay in line with increases over the years. And this city has been very prudent, and our staff works hard to try to provide you with the best service possible, and we're going to continue to do that. So hopefully we'll see some better results from our water, and again, I just like to caution you and tell you that we all understand, but decisions have to be made for the betterment of the city, and that's what we feel that we've done. So I thank you for coming out and voicing your opinion, and we'll move forward. And again, we just hope that you've made the right decision for the city, and I believe that we have. Okay? Thank you. Item 10, regular business. We don't have any this evening. Item 11 is District 5 Supervisor Jim D. Martini.
Good evening, Mayor Caton, council members. Good to be back here in Newman. I was out of town at your last meeting at a conference for our county retirement system, so I missed that meeting. It's the first one in a while. I just have only a few things tonight. The healthcare task force that the coalition of Newman, Patterson, and Gustine will be meeting here in Newman on January 31st. The packets have already been sent out. I just noticed in your calendar of events that you have it at January 23rd, but it's really the 31st. There we're going to be working on at least discussing a Promised Neighborhoods project with the county school system and the city school districts of Gustine, Patterson, and Newman to see if we can get that off the ground and submit an application for a federal grant. It'll have an education component and a health component. So more about that as we get going on that. The Crow's Landing Air Base is the request for proposal is out. I believe the closing date is February 15th for submission of any projects. I really have no way of knowing at this time if we're going to even get anybody to apply to it. Nothing has been submitted so far, but there's still 3 weeks left in the process. And then at that point, the county staff and the committee will evaluate the projects, if any are submitted, to see if it's something suitable with maybe better than last time, actually what we were looking for instead of what we got last time. So 3 weeks, that should be out. And then, of course, as you know, the Orastemba flood control project is at the public comment of the feasibility stage. There's the feasibility stage, and then there's design, then there's construction. It's taken 14 years and millions of dollars to get to where we are today, so we're taking comment now from interested parties on that. And then we'll see where that goes. I think the county staff has set up a meeting with the city on February 8th to discuss this also. I just got that word today.
Yep.
Okay, and that's all I have.
Any questions or comments? Thanks, Jim. Appreciate
Thank you, Mayor.
it. Item 12, item from City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a reminder, tomorrow evening, 6 p.m. in the community meeting room, we will be having another Founders Day meeting. I think they're progressing pretty quickly, as that Founders Day is the last weekend in April this year. The 29th of April, I think. 28th of April will actually be 125 years from the day Simon Newman brought a train out from San Francisco to the area to sell lots in the city of Newman. So city of Newman will be turning 125 years old, which is quite interesting when you look at the map we have in the back. And again, that's an original map from 1895. You'll notice Patterson's not even on the map yet. And then when you look at the size of Newman versus the size of Turlock and Ceres, Newman is actually one of the larger communities in the whole county as of 1895. So I think it's a big honor, and we're hoping we're going to have great events. There'll be 3 days worth of events. Friday evening will be in the plaza, and then Saturday and Sunday during the daylight hours there will be activities at both Pioneer Park and at Densmore Park. Densmore Park, for those that may not know by name, is the Library Park. And there'll be events for kids of all ages. We'll continue to remind you of that. This week, I just want to remind the mayor and Councilmember Hutchins, who's formed the Public Safety Committee. We will be having a 2-on-2-on-2 with West End Fire District and the City of Patterson and the City of Newman. Talk a little bit about what West End and the City of Patterson are doing jointly, and have some discussions on how Newman can join in on that. And that would be this Thursday at 4 p.m. And then last, it's been 2 weeks now, the Public Works Director and your Chief Plan Operator, Mr. Perry, and I went up to Sacramento to meet with the Regional Water Quality Control Board. It was a well-attended meeting, as the actual director and the assistant director were there, so we got a little bit of attention, and I think the mayor remembers Ms. Creedon from we think there was some productive talk with the city being able to have some direction on how to get our wastewater treatment plant expanded, which is important if we want to move forward with the commercial development and business park that we're currently planning on the northwest quadrant up there. So before we can bring those businesses in, we have to have capacity at our treatment plant. So I think it was a good meeting from there. So yeah, that's all that I had at this time.
Any questions, comments for Michael? Thanks. Staff, Chief.
Just a couple quick things. You can follow us on Facebook. For those that don't know, we try to give you up-to-date information on things that are happening. Also on there are pets that are up for adoption or found pets. People are now starting to use us. If they lose their pet, they're throwing it on our Facebook page, and we've had a couple of people find their dogs through other community members that have seen it on our Facebook. And you can adopt from there, get a hold of us, and also follow us on Pet Finder for dogs for adoption. And with that, I'll answer any questions.
Any questions, comments for the Chief? Thank you. Another D, Stephanie?
I just wanted to report back on the smoked meatloaf fundraiser we had last week. It was a success with a profit of almost $1,300. So that'll be helpful for our Kowalski Centennial activities. Also, the 125th commemorative book is progressing. A tentative book layout is currently being worked on by Matos Newspapers, who is going to be the publisher of the book for us. Also, the 2013 Farmland Mini Conference is being held this Saturday in Houston. I've been sending some emails out, just, little friendly reminder, if you'd like to go, let me know and I'll put you down on the list. And lastly, the non-motorized transportation plan was recommended by the Planning Commission last week and will be before the council in February for review and consideration of both the plan and the environmental document. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Steph. Questions, comments? All right, Luke? Nothing to you. Scarlett, anything else? All right. Nick?
Mayor,
I'm sorry.
Michael. I forgot one item that I felt was important. March 19th is the third Tuesday of the month. During our 2-on-2 session with the school district, we came up with the idea we'd like to have a joint meeting between the school board and the city here at the chamber, at which time your staff would do a presentation on the Northwest Quadrant Master Plan, because that's a planning effort that involves not only the city but the school district. I think it's a good opportunity for us to, one, show off our dig, two, we'll do a presentation on where things are at, how they're going, what the timeline is, so that the school district can be fully involved with this process as well. So with that, I would look to you for some concurrent. I was thinking maybe 6 p.m. Start time. It would go, an hour to an hour and 15 minutes is all we would need to do that presentation for you.
That date work for everybody? It'll be the third Tuesday, so it'll be in between our council meetings. So. Yes. Bob? Yes. Nick? Okay, let's do it. Thank you. Okay. Where was I? Nick? Anything? Bob?
Just with concurrence of the council and staff, I'd like to present have a presentation at the next council meeting. Most of you have heard of the American Taxpayer Relief Act, where they're going with the higher earners as far as changing the tax rates, but there was a lot of other things to that bill that haven't been passed, and we're still facing another fiscal cliff. And that would be something that I think that not only the council but the public might want to hear about. Some other things they're going to do is they're looking at taxing municipal bonds. And so these are some of the things that I'd just like to present a little PowerPoint presentation at the next council meeting, both that and the governor's proposed budget, some of the things that might be affecting us coming very shortly down the road.
I'm sure it'll be exhilarating.
Oh, yeah, I sat there and listened to it for hours last week.
All right. Anything else?
No, that's all.
And everybody think that'd be a great idea to have. I think it would be too.
You're just going to
You want
jumping for
some
joy.
popcorn as well?
Yeah.
Sleep a little.
Well, I'll see how much money you take away from
Yeah,
this.
well, I'm
How
sure.
long is your presentation?
It will probably make take more than 10 to 12 minutes, Bob.
I guess I can stop you.
That sounds good information coming out of Sacramento. Yeah, so they're full of good news. Yeah. All right. Thanks, Don. Roberta, what should we see?
I have everything tonight.
All right. And I don't have anything as well, and we'll adjourn the meeting.